This is the OnePlus Open, OnePlus's first foldable and my favorite folding phone right now. And I believe it has the potential to finally convince a lot of people to get in on the foldable fun. Let me explain why in this video. Okay, the most significant way I think OnePlus Open is convincing folks to get into foldables is with its design and build quality. As I said earlier, for me, this is easily the most normal feeling foldable I've ever used. Of course, it's still a bit bulkier than a normal smartphone, but I think this is something you can get used to quite effortlessly. I also like how OnePlus has managed to shave off quite a bit of weight to make this guy feel as ordinary as possible in the hand or in the pocket. OnePlus also says this thing can survive 1 million folds, which is 5 times more compared to what Samsung promises with its foldables. However, I barely average like 50 folds a day, and this is because I was able to get most of my work done on the cover display itself, so I'm totally not worried about its hinge dying on me anytime soon. On that note, its Flexion hinge, as OnePlus likes to call it, is also pretty interesting. It's got a gapless design as most foldables do in 2023, but compared to the firm hinges on practically every Samsung foldable I've used, the one on the OnePlus Open is really gentle. I must say I like it this way because it makes opening the phone much more effortless. The OnePlus Open does not skip an official IP rating either. Its IPX4 splash resistance is not as tough as IPX8 on the Fold 5 or the IP68 dust and water resistance you'd find on normal flagship smartphones, but it should keep the phone safe from minor water splashes just fine. So yeah, as far as the design, durability and comfort go, the OnePlus Open is as close as it gets to a normal smartphone. There are still a few things I wish OnePlus could have done differently, like this button placement or this awkwardly massive camera bump, but I can live with it. Other than this, the biggest reason you'd want a foldable phone is the displays itself. Let's start with the cover screen because, as I said before, this one's pretty special. The best compliment I can think for it is that it's very normal. Yes, you're looking at a 6.3 inches OLED panel with a regular 20:9 aspect ratio, so getting around it feels as typical as can be. All the complaints that I had with the narrow cover display on Samsung's foldables are next to non-existent on the OnePlus Open. OnePlus has blessed it with all the colors, brightness, sharpness and smoothness too, and it's also covered with a proprietary ceramic guard layer that's supposedly 20% tougher than Corning's Gorilla Glass Victus. Likewise, this almost squarish 7.8-inch main display is easily the most fun I've had out of any phone I've used. I'll get into all its multitasking prospects in just a minute, but everything from streaming videos to playing games and just going about my everyday chores has been an absolute delight here. And things only get better with its triple speakers that are plenty rich in terms of bass, mids and highs. Okay, getting back to the display, this anti-glare layer is a nice touch, and it's also got the best crease out of any foldable that I've used so far. I mean, yeah, you can see the crease from certain angles when the screen is off, but in my usage, it was hard to even feel it even when I'm deliberately running my finger through the display. Let's talk about performance now. So here, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 powering the OnePlus Open is a tried and tested performer, and this has been paired with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage, and the gaming experience on its main display is just ridiculously impressive. Besides the regular Android games, playing emulator-based games on this massive screen was especially more fun for me. Multitasking on the main display is where this foldable truly shines the brightest. Apart from all the usual stuff like split screen, floating windows, OnePlus has found a whole new way of making the most out of this screen space. It's called Open Canvas, and I really hope it makes its way to OnePlus's tablets and smartphones as well. Basically, I can now resize multiple apps on my screen as I see fit and even drop one on the bottom for a much more efficient multitasking experience. Instead of having all apps sitting in a congested little space, the OnePlus Open just lets me swipe through them, which is a very elegant, almost laptop-like solution if you ask me. I can have up to 3 apps open here, and when trying to achieve something similar on Samsung's Fold 5, you can clearly see how clean it looks on OnePlus. If there's one suggestion I could make, it's that I wish OnePlus Canvas could somehow utilize the entire screen when I want to view the content of all 3 apps at once. Right now, all it does is minimize them into a squeezed layout, making things harder to see. Anyway, I'm also really happy to see how Oxygen OS itself is super snappy and responsive to match the OnePlus Open's character here. Alright, so with foldables, one of the biggest trade-offs that buyers often have to face is the camera quality. But just if you look at the specs, the OnePlus Open has got a proper flagship grade camera setup. Here you get a fresh new 48 megapixel Sony LYT-I80-808 main sensor with pixel stack technology. Then there's a 48 megapixel ultra wide angle camera next to a 64 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with a 3x optical and 6x lossless in sensor zoom. All of this has some Hasselblad optimization too, and as a standalone device, I think it is easily the best OnePlus camera phone yet. It can also shoot pretty nice looking portraits. There are 3 focal lengths to choose from, and the ones from the 3x70mm lens look pretty nice. For selfies, there's a 32 megapixel sensor on the cover display and a 20 megapixel on the main one. But when it gets dark, the pixel stacked Sony sensor seriously starts to dazzle. So by arranging photodiodes and pixel transistors vertically on top of each other instead of laying them side by side, this sensor can take in much more light. OnePlus even claims that the LYT-T808 can compete against 1-inch type camera sensors like the IMX 989 found on the Xiaomi 13 Pro. And yes, the low light shots from the OnePlus Open are absolutely fantastic. The images look really balanced with not a lot of noise, on-point contrast, good highlights, and everything else. For the most part, I am pretty impressed with its videography side of things as well. Even at 4K 60 FPS, it shoots fairly steady videos. Exposure and lock needs some work in particular, but you can expect great videos from all 3 cameras on the OnePlus Open. So overall, I am quite fond of the point and shoot experience with this guy, and calling it the best camera system on a foldable won't be much of an exaggeration. Alright, finally, I'm a little surprised to see that the battery life on the OnePlus Open is actually not that bad. An average of 6 hours of screen on time on a relatively heavy usage on both the cover and main display. Well, I really can't complain about that. And it fills up quite fast too. With the 80-watt brick that you get inside the box, OnePlus Open takes just around 45 minutes for a complete refill. But on such an expensive device, it's a pity that OnePlus has excluded wireless charging yet again. Alright, so let's wrap things up now, and it pretty much goes without saying that the OnePlus Open is one heck of a smartphone, easily the best foldable out there and the biggest threat to Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold empire. But more importantly, I think it actually has what it takes to get people excited about foldable phones again. With its normal design that transforms from a regular smartphone to a mini tablet in seconds, a couple of top-notch displays and an excellent software system alongside decent cameras and battery backup, the OnePlus Open really is this no-compromise foldable that you should look into.